What's up guys, my name's Brandon, and by now, you've probably already unboxed your brand new iPhone 13 or 13 Pro. You might have already gone through the initial setup process, but now you might be overwhelmed and just wondering what to do next. And that's why I wanted to make this video, to show you the first 17 things you should do, the first settings you should change, the first features you should try out, and more. So this video is going to be beneficial whether you're brand new to the iPhone or if you are just upgrading from a previous model. And we have a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and get straight into it. So the first thing to do is going to be specific to the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max users, and that is to try out and just understand what kind of display you have. So this is a ProMotion display, and this is the first time ever Apple has put a 120 Hertz display on the iPhone. So that means that it refreshes 120 times per second versus 60 like previous generations. So every generation of iPhone was always a 60 Hertz iPhone. That was the display, that was the refresh rate. But now this year we have 120 Hertz, which means everything is going to feel a lot smoother because there are more frames per second on your phone. And if you look at this slowed down footage of the iPhone 13 Pro compared to the iPhone 12 Pro, I mean, it's night and day difference, even just when you are switching pages on the home screen. But not even that, the animations look so much better when you pull them up, and when you go out of them, you can just tell everything just looks so much smoother on this 120 Hertz display. And the best part about this ProMotion display is that it is a variable refresh rate. So it adjusts based on what you're doing on your phone. So like if you're reading a book, if you're browsing through Safari, those are not intensive tasks. So your iPhone is not going to be refreshing at 120 Hertz. It's going to be refreshing at maybe like 30 or maybe 60. But when you play intensive games or do something really quick that takes a lot of energy from your iPhone, it's going to bump that up to 120 Hertz. So it's variable, it changes on its own. There's no way to configure, if it's 120 Hertz all the time or not. It's going to do it on its own. Now there is one setting where you can limit it to 60 Hertz. And one quick way to do that is just to go into low power mode. So if you just went into low power mode, that will limit it to 60 Hertz as the max refresh rate. But there's also another way. If you go into your settings and go to accessibility and then to motion, down here you will see limit frame rate, and it says sets the maximum frame rate of the display to 60 frames per second. So you could turn that on if you want to. That probably will lead to better battery life, but you're going to lose one of the main advantages of getting a 13 Pro. And plus, it's probably not going to save that much battery life because, again, it is variable. It's not like it's 120 Hertz all the time. Now, if you don't have the Pro model and you just have the 13 or the 13 mini, what you want to do next is just configure your display settings. So there are quite a few settings that you need to change right when you get your iPhone 13 or 13 mini. So if you go to your settings here and then go to display and brightness, the first thing you'll see is light and dark mode. And dark mode is going to look awesome on this OLED display. It's going to save battery life. Things are just going to look better. It's going to be easier on your eyes. So I would consider that, but I would definitely recommend putting it on automatic and then change the options in here to whatever you want. If you have a custom schedule, you can set that. I like just keeping mine to sunset to sunrise, but you could change that to whatever you would like. And then down here, we have a couple of other important settings like auto lock. So I like having this on 3 minutes. I would definitely not keep it on the default, which is like 30 seconds or a minute. I would do minimum 3 minutes in my opinion, just because you don't want your phone dimming and locking on you when you're trying to do something. And then we also have raise to wake. I would personally turn that off. All this does is when you turn your phone off and you pull it up like that, it unlocks. But there's a lot of times where it just gives you a false trigger and it can drain battery life. So I like to keep that off. And then also if you go into accessibility right here and then display and text size, all the way down at the bottom is auto brightness. This is something I personally keep off just because I like having my own custom brightness throughout the day, and I change it manually when I need to because it's really easy from the control center right here. But you can turn on auto brightness if you would like to. I personally just keep it off. Also, reduce white point is going to reduce the intensity of really bright colors, which can be very handy for those with sensitive eyes. And then all the way down at the bottom, we have per app settings. If you tap on that, you could customize a specific app to do certain things. So if you go in here, you can see you could change the display and text size and all of these different settings on a per app basis. That way it's not system wide, it's only in those applications, which can be really handy. The next thing you guys need to do on your iPhone 13 is to set up your photographic styles. So if you go into your camera right here and then you swipe up, you will see this new icon in the bottom right here that looks like these different layers. If you tap on that, you will get this, and this is your photographic style. So I'm on Rich Cool right now, and I customize it to my liking, but what you want to do is go in here and get familiar with this. So basically what these are, think of them like Instagram filters. Think of them like Instagram filters or like LUTs if you do video work. It's kind of the same thing. It's a built-in filter, and you could customize it to your liking, and then every picture you take from here on out will have that filter attached to it. So say I like cool photos, like I like really bluish looking photos. If I go down to the cool one right here, I could customize the tone to something. Like if I want it to be in between vibrant cool and cool, I could do that, and I could change the tone, I could change the warmth right there. It's pretty neat. And then also at the top you can see we have the photographic styles icon. If you tap on that, it will just take you back to that same section right there, so you can get to it either way. And then if you go into your settings and then down to the camera section and then down to photographic styles, you could also change them in here. So if you tap on that, it shows you kind of just some more details about it, and you could use whichever one you want from here. So you could change it from settings if you want to. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when you take a picture with one of these on, you cannot change the filter afterwards. It's going to be like that. So you need to make sure to change it back to, whatever you like. If you want it to just be back to default, if you don't want anything on it, make sure to change it back to standard before you take your next picture. So the next thing you need to do is to get a case, or at the bare minimum, get a screen protector. Trust me, you don't want to drop an iPhone 13 or 13 Pro and have to pay hundreds of dollars to replace the front or back glass. And that's exactly why I partnered with Rhino Shield for this segment. And you guys know, I hardly ever do brand deals here on the channel, but Rhino Shield actually makes cases that are not only protective, but the designs are also very sleek, and they have tons of customization options. You can see some of their iPhone 13 case lineup here. They have the Mod NX line where you can easily change the back plate and the color of the buttons. Then they also have exclusive case collections with NASA, the NBA, Pac-Man, and even PewDiePie has a case. So, and if you don't like anything pre-made that they have on their site, you can also design your own case with a custom design. You can put in text, you can do premium stamping. There's all kinds of things you can do on their website. I've been using Rhino Shield products for a very long time now, and I know that my phone is in good hands with their cases on, or even their screen protectors on. I also use their screen protectors a lot. And, it's hard to find good impact protection in a sleek design. Most of the really protective cases out there are just bulky and honestly hideous. So, the other good thing about Rhino Shield is that they have a lifetime warranty on their cases. So if it breaks or cracks, send it back and just get a new one for free from them. So anyways, if you guys want to pick up a Rhino Shield case or a quality screen protector, not the cheap ones that just break and leave residue on your phone after you take them off, use the code Brandon to get 20% off your order, or just click the link below to have the coupon auto apply. And speaking of photos, if we go back to the camera application and swipe down a couple of times, you will see that we have the brand new cinematic mode. So this is something that you guys definitely need to try out right once you get your iPhone 13, because it is absolutely awesome. Even if you are not into filmmaking, this is such a cool feature. So what this does is it uses the A15 Bionic chip to intelligently choose the focal point of your shot. So it's even going to adjust the focus for you, and it can even predict, like when people are coming into the frame, it will change the focus to them. It's just really, really cool. When you shoot a cinematic video and you go back to watch it, you will see that it shows cinematic up in the top left. And when you go to edit this, you could actually turn cinematic mode off. So if you don't want it to be in cinematic, you could turn it off. You could also adjust the f-stop right here, so you could change the bokeh in the background just like you could for portrait photos in the past. You could also even mute the audio with one simple tap right there as well. And if you're worried about how much space these videos are taking up, you could just swipe up and see how much space. So this one only took 25 megabytes, which isn't too bad. And while we're talking about video, I did also want to mention that all of the iPhone 13 models got sensor shift stabilization this year. So you definitely want to try recording when walking outside just to see how stable that video is. It's also very impressive. The next thing you guys need to do is to customize your home screen. So now in iOS 15 here on the iPhone 13, you are able to organize your pages. So if you tap and hold on the home screen and then tap on these bottom dots right here, you could actually move the pages around. So if you wanted this page to be your first page, you could do that now. So you can do that really easily. Also, I would go ahead and take off these widgets if you don't want them, or just add new ones to the stack. So basically, if you go into here, you could add different widgets, and say we wanted a music widget right here, we could add that. And if we wanted it to be on top of one of these, we could just put it on there. That way it doesn't take up as much space, and we can just kind of scroll through these different widgets right here. And then you also want to customize this control center, because right here, it just comes with like 4 little toggles right there that aren't even useful. I would go into your settings right here, then go up to the top and go to control center and put in the ones you actually want there. Like dark mode's good, the hearing one is good, I'll show you why in a second. Text size is good, I'll also show you why in a second. Screen recording is a must up there. Music recognition is good. Low power mode is a must for the control center. And let me tell you why hearing and text size are must-haves in the control center. And that's because if you go into the hearing one right here, if you haptic press on that, we have a new feature called background sounds, which will play ambient sounds in the background, and you could do it straight from the control center. And then the text size one, if you haptic press on that, you could change the text size on a per app basis. So you could change it to the home screen only, or when you're in a specific app, you could change the text size straight from the control center, just kind of on the fly, which is nice. And I don't really want the timer or the camera in there. So if I go into my settings right here, I'm just gonna go ahead and remove those. So I'll remove the timer, and I'll also remove the camera right there, and I'll maybe move dark mode up to the top, so I could easily do that, and just move all the other ones around here as well to your liking. That's definitely something you should do ASAP. The next thing you guys want to do is configure your 5G settings. So if you go into the settings application and then go to cellular, and then to cellular data options, and then to voice and data, this is where you can configure your 5G settings. So I recommend keeping this on 5G auto, or if you're not having any luck with 5G, just keep it on LTE. But I would highly recommend not putting on 5G on, and that's because it's going to constantly be searching for 5G connection, and that in turn will drain your battery. So I would stick to 5G auto or LTE. And then if we go back to data mode right here, I would recommend having that just on standard. That is the default setting. I would just keep it on that. You really don't need to allow more data on 5G. And then low data mode is nice if you're in a pinch and you really don't have a lot of battery life and you don't have anywhere to plug in. That's one thing that you could consider turning on in that situation. The next thing you need to do on your iPhone 13 is to try out the all new macro mode. So if we go into our camera here, now this is exclusive for the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max. This is not going to be on the regular 13 or 13 mini, but what this allows you to do is take macro photography shots, macro video as well. So it allows you to get really, really close on a subject. So let me just show you what I mean. So this is a microfiber towel, and this takes place in the regular photo section in camera right here. You'll see a little animation, a kind of a little jitter right there. You can see it kind of looks laggy, so I'm sure that will be fixed in the future updates. But you can see here, I mean, look how close I can get to this microfiber. I mean, I could see the literal fibers inside of that microfiber right there, which is insane. If I take the picture, you could see when I go back and look at it, it doesn't really tell me it's a macro shot, but you can see there, I mean, that is a macro shot. Look how close I got on this microfiber. That is insane. Just try out macro mode. You could get some really, really incredible shots with it. And I'll have a few on the screen right now that you can see, because some of these pictures are just crazy impressive, and you would never think that they came from an iPhone 13. And speaking of the camera, the next thing you guys need to do is go into your settings and go to camera, and then to preserve settings, and you want to make sure to configure all of these settings in here. So what this does is it preserves the last thing you did in that mode, and it saves it for every time you go back into the camera application. So it basically just like saves your settings. And the two main ones you want to focus on is night mode. Number one, that is a new toggle there. So you can enable night mode to remember what you did last time. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that on. And then live photo. Those are the two main ones. Also Apple Pro RAW. If you shoot in RAW, you might wanna have that enabled as well. But just go in here and configure these to your liking, because this is something that a lot of people realize much later after they've had their iPhone. So you wanna make sure to do this, within the first couple of days of getting your brand new iPhone 13. The next thing you guys need to do is go ahead and set up Face ID if you did not do it in the initial setup process. So for me, I did it in my initial setup process, but if you didn't, you should go ahead into here and set it up. Now also, you want to look into setting up an alternate appearance. So if you want somebody else to be able to get into your phone, you could do that. Or if you just wear a lot of makeup or you look completely different, you could do an alternate appearance there as well, so you can get into your phone with both faces. And you want to make sure that all of these are toggled on just to make your life a lot easier with Face ID. And then if we go down to the attention section right here, require attention for Face ID is going to mean that you have to be looking at the camera lens to unlock your phone. And then also attention aware features is a really awesome feature that needs to be enabled, which basically it just means that if you are looking at your phone's not going to dim. It's going to be keeping an eye on you with that camera. I know it sounds kind of creepy, but it will keep the phone on and not dim when you're watching the screen, or like when you're scrolling through the screen, or when you're watching a video, or on a web article. It's not going to dim the screen because it knows you're looking at it still. And then if we go down to the bottom here to allow access when locked, this is a pretty interesting section right here. So if you disabled Control Center, that means that when you go to the lock screen, you're not going to be able to access that Control Center, which can be pretty beneficial because if somebody got your phone and tried to put it in airplane mode or do something with your device, they can't do it. So that's something you might want to look into doing, just because it could be an extra layer of security. And then speaking of Face ID, another thing you want to set up and enable is unlock with Apple Watch. So this is going to allow you to unlock your iPhone with Face ID, even if you have a mask on, as long as you have an Apple Watch on your wrist. So this is a really cool feature. And if you have not paired your Apple Watch to your iPhone already, go ahead and do that. And this should be the first setting that you change. The next thing you guys need to do is start your battery off right by watching my battery saving tips video. Now I know this sounds like self-promotion, and it technically is, but at the same time, there are really important tips in that video that you need to know. I mean, you have a brand new battery right now. You need to take advantage of that and sustain that good battery life. So if you go into your battery health section right here, you want to make sure that the maximum capacity says 100%. If it says anything less than that within the first 14 days, take it back and get a new one. You want to make sure that optimized battery charging is turned on. And then like I said, that video shows a ton of battery saving tips, but some of the main ones can be found in the privacy section right here and then in location services. There are a ton of things in here under system services that you could turn off to save some battery life. So starting off with iPhone analytics, routing and traffic, location-based suggestions and alerts, most of these can probably be turned off. And you can see a legend of what these arrows mean down here if you're curious about that. But some of these can be disabled completely. You really have no use for probably most of these in here. So just go ahead and take a look at these. Some other things you could do are things like, just entering low power mode, especially on a 120 hertz display when you need to. You want to make sure to avoid heat. Anytime your phone is getting hot, don't keep using it. Let it, sit for a bit and wait till it gets a little bit cooler. You want to make sure to go into sounds and haptics and turn off vibration system wide. And then also down here, we have keyboard clicks and lock sound. I like disabling those. It's not going to save battery life, but I was in this section, so I just wanted to mention it really quickly. And then another really important one is inside of notifications, just managing your notifications and making sure you're not getting a ton of push notifications. And focus modes are something new that can really help with limiting the notifications that you get. So if you go into a certain mode, it will basically just not allow most people to contact you. So you can put in, what people you want to be able to allow to send you notifications. And then everybody else, you're not going to get notifications from. They will just be silenced. You'll still be able to see them in your control center or in your notification center, but you won't get the push notifications from those people and also those applications. So also you can see right here, you could allow certain apps to send you notifications. So I outlined this in a couple of videos already. So if you want to see more about focus modes, watch my first settings to change on iOS 15 video, which is also linked down below. I go really in depth in this focus mode feature. So there's a lot of things you could change to improve the battery life on your iPhone 13. And again, that video is going to have a lot of great tips for that. The next thing you guys need to do is go into your settings and go down to the music tab right here. And if you have Apple Music, you will see this section called audio. And what you want to do is go into audio quality and enable lossless audio. This is going to greatly improve the quality of your music. And you want to make sure when you go to cellular streaming right here to have this on just high quality or high efficiency. You don't want this to be on lossless or high res lossless, just because that could lead to battery drain, because it does take a while to buffer such a big file size of a song. And if we go to Wi-Fi streaming, you could have this on lossless or high res lossless, sounds even better. So I like doing that on Wi-Fi and also for downloads. So definitely do that to get the most out of Apple Music, and the quality is just amazing. Next up, you need to make sure that emergency SOS is enabled. So if you go into emergency SOS, make sure that call with side button is turned on. And that means that if you press the side button 5 times rapidly, it will do an emergency call. So it's going to call emergency services is. And then more importantly, you need to make sure you have your emergency contacts set up. So make sure it's your family members, your significant other, whoever it is. Just tap on Edit Emergency Contacts in Health, and you will be able to add in emergency contacts. So this is something that you need to have set up. You know, God forbid something happens to you. Hopefully it doesn't, but you want this to be set up just in case. You want to be safe, and this is a really, really great feature to have on iOS with your iPhone 13. The next thing you guys need to do is make sure you have a USB-C power block. So of course the iPhone 13 does not come with a block, it only comes with a USB-C to Lightning cord, but you want to make sure that you get a USB-C power block because it's going to charge your iPhone 13 much faster than a regular USB-A power block. So definitely get one of these. You don't have to get it from Apple. There are a lot of them on Amazon for much cheaper. I use the Apple ones just because I have a lot of them. They still sell them with the iPads and things like that, but just make sure that you get a USB-C to Lightning charging block. The next thing you guys need to do is set up Apple Pay. So if you go into the Wallet and Apple Pay section, you need to have Apple Pay set up. I mean, pretty much everybody accepts it nowadays. You know, nobody likes touching those little machines and getting germs all over your hands. So if you go into here and go to Add Card, you could add your debit or credit card, and you also have this section right here. So if you had Apple Pay set up on a previous account or on a previous device, you could go to previous cards and add in those cards right there. So I'm going to do that. Just tap on continue. And then while you're in here, you also have other settings like allowing payments on Mac. You could change your default card and your default shipping address and things like that. You also have the option to hide expired passes. So if you have like expired transit passes or, you know, event tickets or anything like that, you could have that set up. And then if we go into the wallet application, you could see here I have an Apple Card. So if you have an Apple Card, there's a new feature in iOS 15. If you tap on the card information button up in the top right and go into your card information, you will see Advanced Fraud Protection. And it says to keep your card information safe, your security code will change periodically. So that's a toggle that you want to make sure is turned on if you do have an Apple Card, which also I do recommend. But just make sure that you have Apple Pay set up so you could easily tap twice on the side button right there and pay for something very easily. And then the final thing you guys need to do after getting your iPhone 13 is to configure your iCloud settings and your iCloud backup. So if you go to your iCloud section right here and then to iCloud, you want to consider first of all buying more storage, because now if you buy storage in general, you get iCloud Plus for free, which comes with Private Relay and Hide My Email, which are two really cool features. But that's not what we're talking about in this video. So you want to make sure that you have enough storage space right here. If not, go to manage storage and consider buying more iCloud storage. Now also, if you go into the iCloud backup section, you want to make sure that you are backing up your device every single day. So you want to make sure the iCloud backup is turned on. And then also if you have your SIM card in there, you will see this toggle right here as well that says backup over cellular. So you can back up via iCloud over 5G, which I would recommend turning that off. It is on by default, but that could be a big battery drainer if your device actually backs up over 5G instead of on Wi-Fi. You always want to use Wi-Fi as much as possible. So that's another thing to consider. But anyways, guys, there you have it. Those are the first 17 things you should do after getting your brand new iPhone 13, 13 mini, 13 Pro, or 13 Pro Max. Let me know down in the comment below what you guys did first thing after getting your iPhone 13. And also let me know if this video helped you out any. If it did, I would appreciate if you gave this video a thumbs up. And of course, make sure you subscribe for a lot more iOS 13 coverage and more tips and tricks just like this one. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and thanks to Rhino Shield for sponsoring, and I'll see you soon.